Hey all, welcome back. In this episode, I'll be putting the rear brakes together. I've had the old brake part sitting in this sack for years now, can't even remember what's in here anymore. Somehow I ended up with two sets of drums. I've got a bunch of other brake bits still in my stash as well. So, let's see what we got. I've got a full set of drums and shoes. Some braided hoses that I'll reuse. And some rubber ones that I won't. In the bin they go. An old wheel cylinder, even though I'm not desperate enough to reuse this one. Some springs, I'll reuse those. Some random bolts. A spare brake balance valve, I'll keep that around. I'm pretty sure they're actually from the dashboard, I don't know what they're doing in here. Some brake pipe clips, I'll definitely be using those. And I somehow ended up with the remains of 3 handbrake cables. Rusty, but I can reuse these. I'm going to be reusing a lot of this stuff. It's all available new, but it's expensive and I'm cheap. I'll strip all these down and give them a good soak. I thought it would be a good idea to keep track of all the bits I do need, so I started a spreadsheet. This turned into a useful tool, so I've uploaded it into a Google Sheet and I'll put a link in the description below. You can also see exactly where all the costs are coming from in this project. These handbrake adjusters are expensive, so I'll definitely be reusing those. These drums are rusty, but in good condition otherwise. New ones are nearly £100 each, so I'll do what I can to save these. The handbrake cables didn't want to give up, but they overestimated their importance, so the grinder settled that. All the parts then got a good clean. And then a session on the wire wheel. Then I zinc plated all the parts. I didn't go into much detail here, but I'll probably do a video about all this in the very near future. It's not actually all that difficult. Time to deal with the drums now. I use electrolysis for this kind of rust removal. It's easy and it's cheap. All you need is a bucket of water and some soda crystals. The exact amount isn't important, all it does is make the water more conductive. Then just give it all a good stir. Then you need to wire up the part. More connection is better, so just wrap a whole bunch of wire around. I also use the same wire to hang it from. Then dump it in the water. And then you'll need a power source. I use a battery charger, but any low voltage DC power source will work. The negative terminal goes on the part, and the positive goes on the electrode. Any old scrap steel does the job here. And the more electrodes the better. I'll just wire these together. And then you just leave it for a good few hours. You'll end up with this mess after a while. That's fine, it just means it's working as it should be. If all goes well, it'll do a great job of cleaning up the rust, but you'll still have some residue to clean off. A quick going over with a wire brush should take care of that though. And this is what happens to the electrodes. You can use these over again right up until they fall apart. The solution can be reused again too. And here's the drums after some cleaning up. They came out pretty decent. A little bit of pitting on the faces, but I should be able to clean the worst of that up. But let's get some paint on these first. I wanted to keep the mating faces bare, so I masked these bits off. If you hammer the edges like this, it will peel off nice and flush to the edge. I find it more accurate than just trying to cut it. I just use brake caliper paint on these. The backplate's got the electrolysis treatment as well, then just cleaned up and painted. Ideally the drums need turning to smooth out the faces. I couldn't find anywhere local that does this, so I just did what I could myself. I don't have anything like the proper equipment, but I do have a wood lathe. That's almost the same thing, right? I think you can see where this is going now. With the abomination all bolted together, it was time for a test. This lathe is old school, so this is how you adjust the speed. I wanted this nice and slow to begin with. Well, it didn't come flying off, so that's a good start. It's a tiny bit off centre, but that shouldn't really matter. Then I just spent some time cleaning the drums with various grits. Crude, but it did the job way faster and better than doing it by hand. Time to put it all together now. Wheel cylinders first. These are held on with a springy circlip, which is insanely difficult to fit. I tried using a screwdriver to start with. And when that didn't work, I tried 2 screwdrivers. And when that didn't work, I tried hammering it on with a socket. And when that didn't work, I tried 2 screwdrivers again, but this time with a bit more patience. And I got it. If anyone knows a better trick to fit these, please let me know in the comments. Now all the hardware needs to go together. I found an excellent guide online for this, I'll link to it in the description. I don't normally show every nut and bolt in detail on these videos, but I thought this might be a handy guide for others, so I'll show this one in its entirety. I'll speed it up, but if you're trying to follow along, just slow the video down in the settings. If you see any jump cuts, that's just where I messed something up or had to go look for a tool or something. You aren't missing anything important. And it's done. I just need to touch up the paint where it got scratched. And then it's ready to fit to the axle. Brake lines came next. I just bent those to shape. And then flared and fitted the ends. I always start by filing the ends to make sure they're flat and there's no burrs. I've tried a couple of different flaring tools in the past, but this one's my favourite. I'll leave a link in the description below. So you clamp the tool lightly over the pipe, then screw in one end of the forming tool. That sets the right depth. Then you clamp the tool down nice and tight. And then you screw in the other end of the forming tool to make the actual flare. And that gives you a nice clean flare. There's a different tool for female ends like this. It's the same principle, but this one needs a double flare. The pipes are then clipped into place. And the drum's fitted, along with some nice new screws. A quick test to make sure it all works. Before I fitted the axle, I made up a pipe going to the front of the car. And then once the axle was fitted, I put the handbrake cable on. With everything new and moving freely, this was a fairly simple job to do. And then the handbrake itself was fitted. Some final adjustments. And we're done. There's still a little bit of adjustment to do, but it all seems to work. And that's it for this episode. Thanks for watching, I'll see you on the next one. See ya.